10th of March, Rabbi Levitt, Pele Yoetz.
Okay, Baruch Hashem, we're on. Okay, Lou, sorry you missed the siyum of the Tosfos yesterday.
Oh, that's it.
Okay.
We were Messiah Tosfos.
All right. And he's just started now.
What did we conclude?
Tosfos just gave an alternative explanation to how we understand the whole Maisa with Yechezkel being not being Machayim Mesim to the Malva Baribas.
Right.
And he said that alternatively we could say that the Bnei Noach was never commanded. There was never any such mitzvah of Bnei Noach to refrain from lending to make a loan with ribos. It's perfectly permissible according to the Torah for Bnei Noach to lend with ribos. There's no prohibition whatsoever. So then, why is that this person who Tosfos is taking on had a din of a ben Noach who was malva baribas? So why was he denied the schus of the Tchias HaMesim of Yechezkel? So Tosfos says that's exactly what it was. It was a schus, and not everyone in the valley was zocha. He was not zocha because he was a malva baribas. He didn't do anything wrong because there was no command for him to not to not loan with ribos. True, it wasn't an onish. It wasn't an onish to him that he didn't get up by the Tchias HaMesim at that time. But it was also not an onish to all the other mesim in the whole entire world who also didn't get up at that time either, because the ikar time for getting up for Tchias HaMesim was not that time with Yechezkel, but it's going to be the time in the Asad Lavo with Yemos HaMashiach. That's the ikar time. So therefore he wasn't punished because he wasn't punished. We can't say he was punished because he didn't do anything wrong, because he had no prohibition. But nevertheless, he didn't have the schus. He did not have the schus of being someone who was not malva baribas, and so therefore that schus that he did not have separated him from those who did have that schus in the valley and were revived by Yechezkel.
I see. So we still have no conclusion as to where Pele Yoetz gets the statement that it's a mitzvah to lend to a non-Jew with ribos.
Well, it's I actually looked that up, and the Rambam says it explicitly that it's a mitzvah to lend to make the loan with ribos.
Aha. Okay, so it's coming from the Rambam.
Yeah, he's probably going like the Rambam. Yeah, the Rambam can be found if you want to take a look in the Rambam. The Rambam can be found in Sefer Mishpatim, in Hilchos Malva V'Loiva. I think it's Perek Hey. If you want the exact citation, I would have to look it up. But over there, the Rambam says very explicitly that it is a mitzvah to make the loan for ribos.
So it's a commentary from the Rambam on the Torah?
It's in the Mishnah Torah. That's the Rambam's. It's in Mishnah Torah.
Oh, Mishnah Torah, Mishpatim. Mishpatim is a chapter in Mishnah Torah.
That's you've got 14 Sforim. You got 14 Sforim in Mishnah Torah. There's 14 Sforim, and one of the Sforim is is Sefer Mishpatim.
Ah,
And in that sefer, it's got like 5 or 6 halachic sections. One of the halachic sections is called Hilchus Malva Beloiva, the halachas of borrower and lender.
I see.
And over there, it's there's a number of chapters. So if you want the exact citation to look it up, I can have to go and go to the room and look and find it for you.
No, because my Rambam is all Hebrew. I can't really read it myself.
Yeah, okay. Okay. Yeah, it's interesting. The Rambam is actually much easier to read than Tosfos.
Yeah.
I find this Tosfos is to work out the Rambam and all the cheshbonis is a big avoda. But the actual words themselves, I think you'll be able to work it out. It's pretty clear what the Rambam says over there. But I think it was in I don't remember offhand. I think it was in Perek Hey, one of the don't remember exactly where. One of the halachas.
Okay, so we're back to the Pele Yoetz.
So we're back to the Pele Yoetz, and we started yesterday. Alan, is Alan trying to get in?
I said it'll be late.
Okay. So we're in the section. We're on page 253. The section of Harsha. To be an appointed advocate. Okay. Okay, so we're on page 253 and up to the paragraph, consequently, a Torah scholar who fears Hashem. Okay, so basically what he said so far is that that someone who in other words, you have a dispute, you have a legal dispute between two parties, and one or both of the parties, they appoint an advocate, someone to argue their case. So the Pele Yoetz quotes a Gemara in Shavuos based upon a pasuk in Yecheskel that they say, based upon the pasuk in Yecheskel, that he did that which was not good amongst his people. He did something not good. The Gemara over there learns that that's referring to a person who has been appointed to be an advocate to argue someone else's arguments before the Beis Din. Okay, so now we go to Roy to continue the reading for us.
I read the first paragraph, I think.
I did, Roy.
Did you? Oh, okay.
Yes, I remember the.
All right, I couldn't remember. Right. Consequently, a Torah scholar who fears God will not get involved in any dispute, even if he's given all of the riches of the world. Those who seek God will not lack any good. However, there are instances in which it is impossible to say I excuse myself from being an advocate. For example, if his father or brother is going to the land of Israel and they left their money in the hands of others, he needs to oversee their business and properties. Who shall have pity on them more than he? Even if a stranger is going to the land of Israel who has no relatives to rely upon, and he does not find a reliable person to oversee his business in a place where there are men, the obligation is to perform a great kindness, one which will enable a meritorious soul to go to the Holy Land. Yet, if he is able, he should make a condition that he is not accepting upon himself the obligation to go to court on the owner's behalf and to adjudicate his case before judges. Rather, he will attempt to oversee his business to the best of his ability with peace and decency.
Okay, so right, so he's talking to Pele Yoetz in this case of someone who person number one has business and properties, and he appoints person number two to be the CEO of his properties, to be the manager and manage them. Is there anything wrong with that? Even without him going to Eretz Yisrael, he wants to go play golf every day, let's say. There wouldn't seem to be anything wrong with that. He's being hired to run the person's business for him. What does that have to do with being an appointed advocate? So he says that he would be able to he'll be able to accept this position. And he makes the point of saying, no, because he's doing a great kindness for the person, because the person cannot oversee his business because he's going to Eretz Yisrael. He's doing a great mitzvah. Okay. But nevertheless, he does say that even in such a case like this, he should make a condition that he is not accepting upon himself any obligation as the one who's managing the business and the properties, that to go to the Bezdin on the owner's behalf and act as his advocate before the judges, because that the Pele Yoetz holds would be a violation of this Gemara. So the Pele Yoetz is quite strict about this matter. And I will add, he's not talking about going to a non-Jewish court. That's not the issue over here. We're not talking about going to a non-Jewish court. That's a separate violation. That's a separate violation of going to a non-Jewish court. He's not talking about that issue at all. Even if he goes to a Bezdin to adjudicate with the other side, the Pele Yoetz is saying that would not be something that this hired representative should do, because then that would be called he's volunteering to become embroiled in a dispute which is not his own, and he shouldn't do such a thing. It wouldn't. I mean, really, all it means, I would say it like this: all it really means is that he just has to make sure, this representative, that he doesn't have to go to the Bezdin over any disagreement or a business misunderstanding between himself and the properties that he's representing, and the other side who's got some other just settle everything out of court. Just make peace. Just don't go to court and get embroiled in a big dispute in the Bezdin and start fighting and being angry and making a machlokes and all of that, because that's really what happens in the Beis Din. And what he said before is that he in particular to a Talmid Chacham who would use all of his knowledge of the halacha to promote the interests of his side at the of the one that he was appointed to represent, at the expense of the other side, and because of his knowledge, he would be able to make the person that was really guilty innocent, and make the person who was really innocent guilty. So that's the issue over here. So okay. So with that, we will go to the next one, the next paragraph.
Morning, everybody. I had a blood test.
Morning, Alan.
Good
I had a blood
morning,
test
Alan.
Today, so that's why.
Good morning.
Morning. So, want me to read?
Yes, please.
Consequently, second paragraph.
We're up to page 253.
Right, I got it.
Likewise.
Okay. Likewise, a person performs a great mitzvah by acting as a guardian for the estate of orphans, following in the footsteps of the Holy One, blessed be He, who is the father of all orphans. One need not be concerned if he litigates on their behalf, because even the person from whom he's extracting the money through litigation will rejoice, since he has been saved from the punishment of exploiting the poor and the cry of the orphans. All of the inhabitants of the city will praise his actions for judiciously overseeing the properties of the orphans. This mitzvah is most incumbent upon the heads of the leaders of the cities. Their eyes must diligently supervise the properties of the orphans so that their real assets are not consumed. Heaven forbid. They should persuade the widow with gentle urging to release the estate of the management of the orphan's guardian, and to drastically minimize her expenditures in order that the principal value of the estate will be available when they grow up. They should prosecute every man, whether in the Jewish or Gentile court system, and force them with any means of legal coercion in order not to allow them to exploit even the smallest amount of their estate. There is no corrupt wrongdoing or cause for suspicion in this person's actions. On the contrary, he has performed a mitzvah and most precious deed. Even if God commanded him to do so, he will consider it a mitzvah and increase the man's good. This can be compared to the popular idiom, the master's gift, slave's cry.
Just
That are merely an expression of his stinginess, desire for money, is fierce as netherworld and hard as iron. Nor did our
hang on, I think it jumped a page. What page are you on?
Yeah, that's 256.
Oh, okay.
254, Alan.
Right. So, okay.
No.
On the contrary, he's performed a mitzvah and most precious deed, even if it's about often
Sorry.
is not clear. He does not understand the difference between right and left, and certain people want to cheat him and steal from him. Whoever has the ability to save the oppressed from the oppressor has done a great mitzvah. About this, it says in Mishle, open your mouth on behalf of the needy. These are things that do have a measure and limitation, and between good and bad, a person should neither increase nor subtract.
Okay. So here's also an exception to the rule of being an appointed advocate and going to the Beis Din to make a machlokes. This would be a machlokes l'shem shemayim, says the Pele Yoetz. When a person accepts upon himself to be the what they call an apotropos a guardian. He's the I guess the he's the one who oversees the property of the orphans. If their father passed away and he has an estate and he has a number of children who are who inherit that wealth. So he can it's proper for him to it's proper for the person to accept upon himself that position to oversee their properties, and even if it involves going into, he says, the Bezdin, or even to a Gentile court to protect the property of the orphans. Totally permissible. There's no, and we don't suspect him of any corruption or wrongdoing, because he's only done a great mitzvah, and even it doesn't make a difference. Obviously, if the orphans are under bar mitzvah age, we understand that he's done a great mitzvah to defend people who are basically defenseless from conniving individuals who want to, try to attack the estate and get people and get money out of the estate at the expense of these orphans that can't defend themselves. But he says even an adult who is not capable of also not administering the properties, and they appoint a representative in order to do that. Also, in that case as well, because it's the same thing. He doesn't the orphan. He's still an orphan, even if he's an adult, and he's not able to defend himself sufficiently against those that would like to take something from the estate, and therefore it's a great mitzvah to accept this position and to fight even in the court for the sake of the orphans, so that they shouldn't get cheated out by connivers and con men. Okay. Any questions? Any comments?
No.
Yes, one thing that occurs to me is when you talk about going to a secular court, and that's a violation of a prohibition. Why doesn't the person say, I have bitachon that if I keep the Torah, Hashem will take care of the events and make sure that these orphans don't get cheated in the secular court?
Well, there are instances where, in other words, maybe what he's talking about here. First of all, you should know that there are instances, like for example, if a non-Jewish person sues you in a non-Jewish court, are you allowed to go to the court and defend and try to defend yourself and show up? And if you don't show up, the court will just rule in favor of this non-Jew, and you're going to lose. So are you allowed to go to the non-Jewish court in that case?
I would presume the answer is yes.
Yeah. So let's say that let's say, just for the sake of the argument, that that's what the Pele Yoetz is referring to over here, or even right. Even if you have a sometimes it could be, I'm not sure, this might be a shaila. It might be a shaila for a rav who knows the halacha. Even if you have a Jew who is a non-observant Jew. I mean, what's the difference whether he's non-Jew, or he's a Jew that doesn't think anything is wrong with going to a non-Jewish court, and he sues you in a non-Jewish court. What are you going to do? You're going to try to convince the Jew, oh, I only go to a Beis Din. He'll say, you can go to the Beis Din, but I'm going to be over here suing you in this court. And if you don't show up, you're going to be in trouble, right? Can you go to the court? I would assume that you could. But of course, I'm not posketing any shilas over here. But in any case, there you have two possibilities where the Pele Yoetz could be speaking about.
But that's not a chiddush, because in that case, it's not usher. I assume you're talking about, even if you're going to do something that's usher, the help that you're providing to the orphan overrides that prohibition.
Well, I mean, why would you need to go if you're not the one who's in other words, like this? Both of my cases were cases where you're being attacked. You, as the executor of the estate of the orphans, is being attacked. You're being sued. So you can't control your being sued. But why do you have to go into a non-Jewish court if you're on the offense? You're on the offense, and you're trying to make an order to let's say to stop this person from terrorizing the orphans. Right? He's not going into court. He's doing whatever he's doing, and you need to go and you need to stop him. So what should you do? Should you go to a non-Jewish court?
Well, let's say
I don't think there's any heter for a thing like that.
There's an Orthodox Jew, and he says, the Beis Din, they don't know what they're doing. I'm going to secular court. So now is that usher for me to go to the secular court?
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's
absolutely usher. What?
So in that case, why don't I say it's usher for me to go to the secular court against this fellow Orthodox Jew? Therefore, I'm going to have bitachon that he will not be successful.
What's the case again?
An Orthodox Jew got into a dispute with the orphans.
Right.
He says, "I'm going to secular court. I don't trust."
Okay. Okay. Very good. In other words, okay. Very good. In other words, why do I have to talk about a non-Jew or even a secular Jew? I can talk about a religious Jew. So quote unquote, a religious Jew who thinks that there's nothing wrong with going to a secular court in order to adjudicate his disputes. What do I do in that case? Am I allowed to just go right ahead into the secular court? What am I supposed to do? I'm supposed to lose all my money. I should go to I'm supposed to try to convince him that he's got to go to a Jewish court. As far as this matter is concerned, he's a non-religious Jew. He's a goy. He wants, that's what he wants to do. What's the difference who he is? But the same issue is for me as well. How can I go? Or how am I required to lose all my money in order to not go to this court over here? Yeah. So I hear in such a case like that, what can one do? Right. That's you're saying, what's the difference? What is the difference? There shouldn't be any. The only difference would be the fact that you would think that there would have to be some type of effort made on your behalf, to find some way to get through to this quote unquote religious Jew, that you can't do this. This is not allowed. Do you keep Shabbos? Yes, of course. Do you eat kosher? Yes, of course. So you observe the Torah? Yes, of course. So you don't know that you're not allowed to go to this court? Maybe, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm naive.
Business is business.
This is business. When it comes to money, it's a whole different world.
That's what they say. Business is business.
This is a Chilul Hashem. You're saying that only this goy can and his goyish law, only he can do justice in my case.
Right.
But a Talmud Chacham and the Torah, they're not capable of doing justice in my case.
Exactly.
Isn't that a tremendous Chilul Hashem?
I would say so. But it's also a Chilul Hashem for me to go to the secular court with this guy, because here's the secular judge saying, look at these Jews. Look at how they're fighting with each other, and they're trying to cheat orphans.
Well, I mean, we hear on the hotline all sorts of stories about how Gedolei Yisrael, Rav Moshe, and other Gedolim, they told the people, even in a Jewish court, where they're not violating any prohibition of going to a Jewish court, they were told, if you'll listen to me, you'll have a lot more serenity in your life. You'll have a lot more. You'll have a lot less anxiety and bad feelings and ulcers, chas v'sholom, and you won't be involved in lashon hara, and you won't be involved in machlokes, and you won't be involved in sinna against another Jew. If you do what? If you stay away from the whole dispute and just forget about it, and don't get involved in the whole dispute altogether. Don't fight with another Jew. And what's going to be with my money? Who's the one who's in charge of all the money?
So that's my question. Why don't we say that? Hashem's in charge. He's trying to steal from these orphans. He's refusing to go to Beis Din. It's also for me to go to a secular court with him.
Oh, that's what you're asking. Why shouldn't the executor say, okay. Okay, so so maybe for the executor himself, for his own possessions, he's allowed to say that. But you're not allowed to say to somebody else and say, oh, just rely on Hashem and everything will be okay. You have to do what you can do in order to help the person. That's a different story. That's a mitzvah of Gemilas Chasodim that you're doing with the. How come? Let me ask you a question. How come when an ani comes to your door and he says he needs $1,000, and you say, you know what? Just have bitachon in Hashem, who has all the money in the world. HaKadosh Baruch Hu, trust in him, you'll get your money. Is that what I should do?
If he's asking for $1,000, absolutely.
Okay.
But Rabbi, there's a significant difference in my question.
Yeah.
My question is,
What's the difference?
you're doing an Aveira. The Pele Yoetz is saying it's okay for you to do an Aveira in this case.
I didn't say he's talking about doing an Aveira. You said that. I said he's
Oh.
talking about going to a non-Jewish court because he needs to. He's got a heter to go.
Well, if he's got a heter, then what's the point of the statement? Obviously, if it's permissible, he can do it. My question is, what is his point in saying he can even go to a secular court? Isn't it to say that it's usher to go to secular court, but nevertheless he can do it? In this case?
Why do you have to do an avera? Why don't you go to Bezdin? I don't understand the question.
You're allowed to go to Beis Din, even though there's a general principle, you should not get involved in disputes. The reason you're allowed to go to Beis Din is because you're helping the orphans, and therefore that overrides the advice that says don't get involved in disputes. That's clear. Now he goes on and he says you can even go to secular court. What's the point of saying that? He's already said you can go to court. It has to be that he's saying you can even go to secular court, which is usher, because the orphan consideration overrides the avera.
I don't hear why it is. Why I don't see why you can't help orphans by doing an avera. It's not he's obviously talking about a case where you're not doing an avera. You can't do an avera to help somebody. You can't do that. That's the rule. You don't do averas to help other people. You help them as much as you can help them, but you don't do averas in order to help them. Right?
Okay. So in other words,
That's the rule.
all he's saying really is one thing, and that is you're allowed to go to court in order to protect the assets of the orphans.
Right.
Fine.
Right. Right. Okay. We go to the next section. Interesting Hebrew word over here. It looks like it has the same letters as Hashoah.
Yeah.
But this in Hebrew is called hashba. Which is comparisons. Okay, so we'll continue. Lou, would you like to read?
Yeah. Our sages said, when you come to a place, you should conduct yourself according to its customs. Similarly, people say, you should do as you see in the place that you go. Our sages also said, a person should not act differently than the common practice of a place in order to avoid dispute. Whoever does so is at a disadvantage. Furthermore, our sages said, a person should always be in tune with the people around him. He must not rejoice among people who are crying, and he should not cry among people who are rejoicing. He should not sit among people who are standing, and he should not stand among people who are sitting. The general rule is, whatever people are doing there, he should also do, unless even the slightest prohibition is involved.
Oh, this is interesting. Okay, so we have looked up this Gemara in Psachim. Remember, we looked up this Gemara about what was the issue over there? Malacha done on Erev Pesach. So there was places that do Malacha Erev Pesach, and there's places that do not. And so if a person finds himself in a place which is in a different place, not the place that is his place, so he's supposed to conduct himself according to the practice of the place. And what is the reason for that? In order to avoid machloikes. We see all the, so he dispenses with his custom. And then he quotes a very interesting Gemara in Ksuvis. A person should always be in tune with the people around him. He must not rejoice when they are crying. And he should not cry among people who are rejoicing. It's very interesting. Shouldn't sit when people are standing. Shouldn't stand when people are sitting. We don't have too much time left, but I would like to look up this Gemara and see what the sources are and what the cases are. He's brought two cases over here. Except, of course, in the case where there's if there be a prohibition, even a slight prohibition, he says, so then one has to do, even if it's different from all the other people, he's got to avoid the prohibition. That's another matter. That's another matter. But there's no prohibition generally to sit or stand, to cry or to rejoice. And so in those situations, he should do what other people are doing. Okay. Any questions? We have 2 more minutes. 1 more minute. A 1-minute question. 1-minute comment. Okay, we'll end early today to give Mayor an opportunity to be on time for once.
Thank you so much.
See you later,
Hey,
man.
Mayor.
Okay,
All the
have a
best,
good day,
Mayor.
everyone.